What's up, jurors, and welcome back to the Tactical Verdict, the channel where we rate games based solely on their tactical depth and the proficiency of their combat systems. And as you can see, Judge Verdict is not here today. He said, quote unquote, he was a little stressed out by the games industry and needed a little me time. But actually, Verdict's wife Doris just sent me a video of what he's up to, so let's go take a look at that right now.
Why'd you drag our bed out here, Judge?
I just needed some time to think.
You have pink eye, baby. Please come inside and bring the bed back for Christ's sake.
I'm just worried about the upcoming Game Awards. If Clay Obscure doesn't win Game of the Year, I'll be perfectly beside myself. Perfectly morose, Doris. And I'm worried about seeing Jeff Keighley's face, especially if the whole show is going to be a complete sham. Leave me, Doris. I need some time to think.
Baby, you have a zombie eye. You shouldn't be out here.
Leave me, Doris, and my weeping eyelid.
Okay, then.
Yeah, I have no idea what that was all about. Let's just move on. Today, we'll be taking a look at 5 games that deliver robust and addictive combat systems. These are the games that keep your unblinking eyes glued to the screen like your frickin' Wednesday Addams. These games are the ones that keep you up at night, dreaming of strategies and builds that you can employ the next time you boot up the game. These games are the ones that remember the golden rule. Combat is king. The first game up on the list to satisfy your combat junkie cravings is one that was actually considered a commercial failure by the studio itself. So much so that in May 2023, about 5 months after the release of this game, 30 employees were laid off from this studio. And this game is none other than Marvel's Midnight Suns, developed by Firaxis Games. Now, Marvel's Midnight Suns is like a mashup of a social sim, a strategy RPG that utilizes cards as its main mechanics, and a little Metroidvania sprinkled in. Now, if you're like me and you winced a little when you heard social sim, I get it, I do, but ignore your instincts on this one because Midnight Suns has some of the best freaking combat I have ever seen and one of the most addicting gameplay loops. With over 16 different Marvel heroes to play around with, from Blade, the Vampire Hunter, to Captain America, the Paragon of Justice, to Ghost Rider, who really should have been played by Nick Cage,
I couldn't think of a more horrible job if I wanted to
even Mr. Bubs himself.
Look out!
Midnight Suns offers a diverse cast of heroes who team up with you, the Hunter, a human-demon hybrid resurrected by the Midnight Suns to fight Lilith and Hydra. Missions in Midnight Suns are broken up into 2 groups: story missions, which progress the central narrative, and general missions, which are repeatable optional missions. For each of these missions, you can select up to 3 heroes to bring with you into combat, with each hero being able to have a deck of up to 8 cards to play around with. Now, with 16 heroes in the game, each of which can have 8 card decks, comes to a total of 128 cards to play around with, and that's not even including the cards that your hunter gets. And to be honest, just this alone would be enough to get me to play this game. But Midnight Sun says no, we're not stopping here because every single card in this game can be upgraded and altered with modifiers that add to a card's overall functionality. And let me tell you, once you start engaging with this system, Pandora's box opens and builds and synergies will be racing through your mind a million miles per hour as you're trying to figure out how you want to build each of these 16 heroes that you can collect. Whether that's upgrading Tobey Maguire's Chain Strike to target a maximum of 4 enemies, adding a modifier that recovers health on redraw, or adding a modifier that applies a debuff such as Bleed or Weak. A modifier that lets you draw the last attack played, to one that deals more damage if a target is targeting your hero. 2 on-KO effects that allow you to go invisible and thus avoid any damage as you're untargetable. 2 on-KO effects that cause an explosion around the target. To one that gives you a 25% chance to apply a stun. These are just a few of the modifiers that you can unlock and play around with and put on your cards. And to be honest, it was such a breath of fresh air when I found this system because it allows for so much tactical diversity and build theory crafting, which is what we want in these combat heavy games. And as if all this wasn't enough, there are also a ton of environmental damage options available to you when you're in combat, which offers a whole nother layer of strategy as you can freely move your player character, provided that you have moves left to use. And you want to do this so that you can line up those environmental attacks and hopefully environmental kills, which are really cool and really satisfying to pull off. And then finally, a little cherry on top, there's also a bunch of different items that you can use in this game. You can bring up to 3 with you in battle, and some of them are incredibly useful. And normally I don't really care how a game looks, I'm not really one of those graphics whores, but my god, this game looks absolutely phenomenal in combat, and the animations and the sound and the feedback that you get when you're hitting these enemies is so satisfying to watch. It's freaking cinematic as hell. So despite this game being a commercial failure in the eyes of Firaxis Games, I really highly recommend you guys check out and play Marvel's Midnight Suns because it legitimately has one of the best and most addictive combat systems I've had the luxury of experiencing. Now the next game on this list is from a studio called Tango Gameworks, which was closed by Microsoft in May of 2024. And many believe the studio's closure was a direct result of this game's supposed failure. But this rumor proved to be untrue, as Hi-Fi Rush's success was cited as one of the reasons Tango Gameworks was brought back from the dead under new ownership in January of 2025. That's right, jurors. Hi-Fi Rush, the wacky rhythm-based action game from Tango Gameworks, has an absolute banger of a combat system. In Hi-Fi Rush, you play as Chai, attempting to take down a corrupt corporation known as Vandalay Technologies, and you must fight their machines with nothing but your electric guitar, which is, your protag's weapon of choice. And throughout the game, you'll be dispatching these mechanical foes via a Devil May Cry inspired combo system, but with the added caveat that you'll need to execute these combos in time with the beat of a level's soundtrack. When you stay on beat, you can execute some devastating combos that look just as good as they feel to pull off. The combat in Hi-Fi Rush is frantic and kinetic, and while trying to execute combos on beat, you'll also need to protect yourself, which you can do via a dodge or a parry. And since all the enemy's attacks are executed to the beat of the music, as long as you're locked in with the timing, every fight, despite feeling quite manic at times, is a beautifully controlled dance, and you are rewarded for adhering to the beat with flashy and impactful combo finishers. In addition to this, you'll acquire 3 companions over the course of the game, which you can cycle through and call into battle at will as support allies. Shield enemies are best dealt with by using Macaron, Peppermint is best for dealing damage at range, and Corsica is good for high DPS and special combos. With an incredible art style, great animation and enemy telegraphs, excellent hit feedback, and an extensive combo system that's woven into the rhythm of the music, Hi-Fi Rush hits all the dopamine receptors of combat enthusiasts, and more people should give this game a try. Plus, it has a parry, and parrying in games just makes everything better.
Let's rock, big boy.
Moving on to number 3 on the list. This game is one of those games that leaves an imprint on you. With its brief total playtime clocking in somewhere under 10 hours, you'll be left wanting more, but ultimately you'll be satisfied and happy that you even got to experience this game at all in the first place. And this game is none other than Furi, a little indie gem from the independent studio The Game Bakers. Furi is a part of a genre that I feel is severely underrepresented, because while Furi can more generically be labeled an action combat game, it is also a part of the boss rush genre. In Furi, you will not face off against any enemy mobs, you will not interact with any NPCs, You will not visit any towns to pick up quests. No, in Furi, you will traverse from boss to boss, beaten and bloodied, with the only downtime in between being your walk to the next challenging encounter. Furi is a game with no fat around its edges, and the bosses you face off against are gritty tests of your combat skills, with almost all bosses having 6+ health bars, but most importantly, different phases for each one of these health bars. Combat has you executing basic attack combos with your katana, dodging or parrying enemies' attacks, or whittling down some of the boss's HP with range attacks from your energy gun. The combat's tactical depth does not come from gear, attack combos, or abilities, as Furi has none of these things. Rather, Furi's tactical depth comes from having to adapt to the various phases of each boss until you finally take them down with a flourish. And with each boss being so wildly different from each other, and also wildly different depending on which phase they're in, every second of these long and grueling boss fights is engaging as all hell. Add on top of that well-telegraphed enemy attacks, which is a vital component in any skill-based action game, and crisp feedback in every attack, and Furi becomes a game that should not be missed. And let me add that Furi is only $20 on Steam, and it goes on a deep sale very often, so you can pick this game up for like $1.99. So make sure you keep an eye out for those discounts and pick up this game. I promise you, you will not regret it. The next game on this list is the definition of a hidden gem. With only 532 reviews on the Steam page, Dungeon Drafters is one of those games that never caught mainstream attention, and to be honest, it's a damn shame as its combat is strategically deep and incredibly rewarding. In Dungeon Drafters, you play as a young adventurer who explores dungeons to collect cards, with the hopes that you will become strong enough to defeat an evil entity known as the Stranger. The game's initial opening hours will see you scraping by a dungeon floor by the skin of your teeth as you attempt to leave with whatever card packs you were able to find, so that you can add to your overall card collection. And as this loop continues to build upon itself, the cards and the curios, which are this game's version of artifacts or relics from other roguelikes/lights that you might have played, these cards and these curios start coming in by the truckload, and the game opens up in a big way. With 5 different elemental archetypes in the game, with water, fire, earth, wind, and a 5th dark archetype created by the Stranger, there are just over 300 cards to collect and build your decks with. But what's really cool here is that you can mix and match cards from each archetype as you see fit, providing that you have the elemental affinity to cast it. You can go all in on one archetype to cast their high cost cards, or mix and match any of the other 4 archetypes as you see fit. The combinations and synergies that you can come up with between all the cards available to you is honestly quite astounding, and what's even more impressive is that each dungeon that you visit is unique, and a one deck beats all solution will not work here. From the high DPS but limited mobility of a fire deck, to the seemingly endless turns you can achieve with the air archetype, to a high summon build with the water archetype, or any combination of the 5 archetypes to create a deck that's entirely unique, Dungeon Drafters has it all. Combat in Dungeon Drafters has you going from room to room of grid-based combat. You can see the enemy's intentions for the next turn, so it's all about avoiding those tiles where enemies will attack while dismantling them as quickly and efficiently as you can. Many cards also come with specific conditions that, if met, will trigger bonus effects, or even allow you to replay that same card again for free. You also have a basic attack which deals 1 bar of damage to enemy health bars, and this basic attack is important because part of the strategy in Dungeon Drafters is managing your deck so that you don't run out of cards before you are able to reach a shrine that allows you to reshuffle all of the cards in your discard pile back into your deck. Dungeon Drafters is one of those games that will stay unknown to the majority of gamers, but that doesn't mean I will not sing its praises to anyone who will listen. Dungeon Drafters offers over 100 hours of pure tactical nirvana for those who are willing to engage with its intricate deck building mechanics. For any fans of roguelikes/roguelites, Dungeon Drafters is seriously up there with the best of them, so do yourself a favor and check this indie gem out. The game has a base price point of $25 on Steam, with past sales seeing it get as low as $15. And at this price point, with this much content and this much strategic depth, Dungeon Drafters is a must-buy. Now, the final game on this list is part of a franchise that has consistently delivered fast, stylish, and strategic combat. And that game is the masterpiece known as Devil May Cry 5, which is the highest grossing title in the series, having surpassed 10 million units sold. So what makes this game's combat so damn good? Well, I think we all know the answer. Combos, combos, and more combos. Devil May Cry 5 just might be the greatest action combat game ever created, and it's all thanks to its wide variety of weapons and the combos that you can perform with them. From Dante's Devil Sword, which delivers fast and devastating slice and dice combos, to Dante's Balrog that sees you punching and kicking enemies into oblivion, to Dante's King Cerberus that deals chip damage and has a variety of AoE and elemental combos that can freeze or electrocute enemies, to Dante's trusty dual pistol combo that's an ever-present part of the series, and to my personal favorite, Dante's Cavalier, aka his motorbike. That's right, you can fuse a freaking motorcycle as a weapon in this game, and it brings nothing short of what I like to call glorious carnage. And if this wasn't enough for you, in DMC5 you can also play as V, a very emo soy boy who utilizes his demonic summons Shadow and Griffin to dispatch his foes. And while admittedly V's combat style is not my personal favorite, his playstyle acts as a nice counterpart to Dante's up-close and personal style, as you'll be relying on his summons to do most of the work for you. But this is a Devil May Cry game after all, and Dante is the star of the show. Just take a look at some of the combos you can pull off. If that little combo showcase wasn't enough to titillate your little dingleberry, I don't know what will, because DMC5 has hands down the best action combat I've ever seen in a game, because in my opinion it has the most variety when it comes to weapon types and combos, especially since you can freely swap between all weapons at will at any time during combat. And I know that this is one of the more well-known games on this list, but if you happen to miss out on Devil May Cry 5, there is no better time to jump in and see what all the fuss is about. The Christmas season is almost upon us after all, so give yourself the present of one of the best action combat games of all time.
Meet your new client.
He who desires but act not breeds pestilence.
So it is written.